and welcome to the Heal Strong podcast with me, Namita Purohit. I'm a leadership and life coach, and I base my coaching on Eastern wisdom and Western psychology. We serve many different people through our different programs, right from the self mastery program for life coaching, the leadership development program through the Lead with Ease Academy, and the Heal Strong program to help people recover from toxic narcissistic abuse. We also run a coach certification program for those who want to become coaches like us based on Eastern wisdom and Western psychology. I'm very happy about bringing this series in about narcissism in different relationships. And we've talked about narcissistic husband. Today, I'm going to talk about narcissistic mothers and how what are the different manipulation tactics that they use and the seven life altering effects that happen to people who have had narcissistic mothers, how it completely alters their psyche and how it impacts their work life, their relationships, and so on. And also some gifts that you get by when you're raised by a narcissistic mother. Also, you're going to learn about some free resources that I have, some healing modalities, and of course, the sponsor of this podcast today, which is a Heal Strong program, a membership to help people make a full recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. This includes courses, coaching, and community to give you a full holistic program where you're altering your beliefs, you're learning, you're understanding a lot of things through our courses. You are benefiting through our group coaching calls and one on one coaching calls. And you have a beautiful community of kindred spirits out there to support you and out there to learn from each other as you all chug along and make a full recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. Yes, it's possible. And as I said, I'm doing a series. So if you want to know when the next video about narcissism in different relationships, whether it's a narcissistic father, narcissistic wife, narcissistic gurus, narcissistic boss, narcissistic children, and if you want to know when the next video is coming up, you got to subscribe to this channel. Um, over here, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notifications. For those of you who are watching this on Facebook and other places, you can go to the description and you will see the subscription link. Yes. Now let's look at some of the manipulation techniques that tactics that narcissistic mothers use. Right. So one thing is like a general understanding of narcissism, and you can get a lot of videos on that in this Heal Strong podcast playlist on my channel. But a general understanding of narcissism is that you are dealing with somebody who is completely self obsessed, who only values themselves and they're always prioritizing themselves, right? So you are just an object for them. Your needs, your feelings, none of that matter. None of that matter at all for them, right? Now imagine a person with these characteristics as a mother. It completely goes against the grain of what motherhood is, because motherhood is about nurturing, about supporting, about serving the next generation in growing up. Now, imagine if that source of nurturing, that provider, is a narcissist who's completely looking out only for themselves, who's only thing is about like, what is in it for me if I have this child? What is this child going to give me? What, how am I benefiting from this child right from their birth to their death? How am I benefiting, right? So even the birth of a child could be used for like their own raising of their image or their standard. um, like there was this one lady, I was in a community in Seattle. I still live in that community, and there was this one lady in the community who got pregnant quicker than the others, who were kind of married at the same time, and she went around telling people that, oh, hey, I'm pregnant. How come you're not pregnant yet? Look, I'm the one who got pregnant. If you want, I can share tips with you on how to get pregnant fast. And like, oh, look, I had this baby shower. Look, now I'm doing this, right? It was all about her, completely about her, right? So even the birth of the child can be something that they would use to further their own status. It has to be above them, it has to benefit them. So it's very difficult for them to be nurturers and providers and carers, right? Now they're very emotionally unstable also. They come across as emotionally unstable to the children they're raising because since it's always about them, their emotions can go high and low. When their needs are satisfied, they're happy. When their needs are not satisfied, they're unhappy, right? So they're not able to give a stable parenting, stable emotional parent, be that stable emotional parent to their children. And they can be very crazy making and very hard to please because one day they tell you, yes, when you do this, I'm happy. And then when you do that to make them happy, the rules have changed. The chessboard checkers, everything has changed. The squares have changed, the positions have changed. And now, even if you do the same thing to make them happy, what they said you need to do, they're upset with the same thing. So if they tell you to put your socks in a certain place and you're putting that over there, and you're doing that every day, and then suddenly you're like, why are you putting your socks over there? I told you to put it over there. I don't want them over here. And there is no discussion on, I'm sorry, I'm changing the position of the socks. And I know we talked about this, but now I need you to put the socks over there. There is no such discussion. And this could happen in something as small as socks, and this could happen in something as big as anything else, big things in life. And this is like very crazy making. They keep shifting the goalposts, and they're very hard to please. And we're going to get into more of that as we go. The hard to please one. They're going to also do a lot of withholding of affection, so you get affection from them when you satisfy certain things, and then when you don't satisfy certain things, then you don't get that affection from them. So you start thinking that love is at a premium. You got to pay a price for the love. And it's only when you satisfy them, and it's only when you're perfect, and it's only when you do everything right, is when you deserve to be loved. So you grow up feeling very unloved, and they're constantly playing the victim. Um, there are so many stories that I keep hearing from my clients, and one of them was that this child, when this client was recollecting that as a child she wanted to do, like, offer the puja, the arati, the daily morning prayers to the deities, and she was very excited about being with her mother, 5-year-old, very excited about that. And then as the mother was lighting the lamp, the matchstick fell down, like the lit matchstick fell down. The lamp was lit, but then that matchstick with the flame fell down, and it came on the mother's sari. And the mother was wearing a polyester sari, so it caught fire very quickly. Of course, the mother was very alert, and like, she rubbed it together, and all of that went away. But when she came out, and like they were at their grandparents' home, and when she came out, and then the grandparents saw that there was some some kind of shrieks that came in the from the puja room, the altar area. And then when they came out, and then like she was like, grandparents asked the mother, their daughter, like, hey, what happened? And she's like, this girl, she disturbed me. And then, we ended up, she didn't handle the lamp really well. And then the lamp fell, and I burnt my clothes. And then everyone was like, oh, this little child needs to learn better, and needs to be more disciplined, and needs to be, not so, not so touchy, and like, trying to get everything and get her hands, and not so clumsy all the time, but just, she needs to learn how to sit in one place. And the child, this client of mine, is like such a vivid memory for her. Is like sitting and wondering, like, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? And why did my mother? So it's like blaming, playing the victim, for no rhyme or reason you would be blamed because she's not feeling very happy, and she's feeling very sad about something, and so on. And then, also a lot of triangulation happens between the father and, each other, right? Like, so she would triangulate you against the father, against she would use you as baits against the father, as she's trying to so what she'll do is, like, usually what the narcissistic mother would do is that uh, do everything to instigate the children against the father. Like, oh, look at, I'm such a victim. I've had it so bad. I'm suffering so much. And like the children, naturally, they're like, wanting to be compassionate. And then the mother is like the, primary caregiver for them. So then they start like joining hands with her, and then start thinking that the father is, something is wrong. And that's a lot of triangulation she does. But then the children end up losing the feeling of shelter from the father because they're getting disconnected. Now, there's also a lot of triangulation that she can do between siblings because she has these three things going on for her. There's a golden child, there's a scapegoat, and then there is a forgotten child. Right? So the golden child is a child who's perfect, who fits her needs, and like who's like who fits every description that she wanted, in terms of the kind of just trying to shift position here, like the kind of child she wanted, right? And she's going to continuously, like, the for the golden child, it's like, wow, I'm getting so much praise from my mother, so let me keep doing more and more of this because she's praising me and I'm getting the love, right? And then the scapegoat is the one, as I described in this example of the puja room and the flame, and the child being blamed for that, is that that child will be blamed for everything. Usually, the scapegoat is the one who's the most sincere of children, the most empathic of children, the most considerate, the most thoughtful, the most hyper vigilant child, and actually a great performer. But that child will be scapegoated and blamed for everything. Why? Because the scapegoat is always looking for affection. And when they're blamed for everything, they're going to keep trying more and more to get the affection. So the narcissistic mother's not losing out on anything by going after the scapegoat like that, because the scapegoat is going to try harder. And then there's the forgotten child who's kind of just forgotten and emotionally neglected. And they grow up with a lot of wounds too. Now she could also switch between the golden child becoming the scapegoat, and the scapegoat becoming the golden child, and the forgotten child. And it's all about her convenience. It's all about what's convenient for her in the moment in those dealings, and and that's what she's going to do. If you want to know more about that, I have another video that talks about all of this in greater detail about the scapegoating that happens, and the golden child and the forgotten child, and you have the link for that in the description below. Now, what does this do to the person, the children who are being raised by this mother? So let's look at the 7 life-altering effects that happen to these children who are being raised by narcissistic mothers. And one of the things they develop in their psyche, as I said, is life-altering. Is they develop this behavior which is constant pleasing, constantly pleasing her and never feeling good enough, and then that translates to other adult relationships, that translates to the workplace as well, where these people will be great workers. They're going to do amazingly well at constantly keeping their bosses happy, constantly doing and constantly going on and over and above what's expected out of them. But they will also grow up feeling never good enough, so they're not going to come across as very confident people. And then also, like this, when the child grows up as a scapegoat, even in their adulthood, even in their 50s, if they haven't understood all of these dynamics, they will do anything to please their mother in order to get their love, something that they didn't receive for 50 years, but they still think that if they keep doing this, they will be able to get their love, right? Get the mother's love, and they keep doing that, and even to the extent of being used as a pawn by the mother for her agenda against the other siblings, and for this sibling, the scapegoated sibling, even at 50, to lose their relationship with others, with the other siblings, right? And it's so deeply ingrained. Now, if you find yourself having that, keep on with me as I discuss more. Now, there is also a lot of difficulty with self-worth and identity formation, because they are your sense of worth develops as a child based on how your parents are treating you. Right now, after you've crossed 18, you can't blame your parents anymore. It's about how you're treating yourself, right? So because we are gradually getting adult, becoming adults, we have more resources and we are able to think for ourselves. So we can't keep blaming our parents, into our 20s and 30s and things like that. We got to take responsibility, right? Now, somebody who has constantly been never been able to get in touch with themselves, but their whole sense of self is about pleasing their mother and hopefully one day getting her affection. Your entire sense of worth is wrapped around whether you're going to get your mother's reciprocation or not, right? Whether you're loved by your mother or not, whether you're considered worthy by your mother or not. Now, when you are in a narcissistic relationship, like with your mother, you're never going to feel that. So you're never going to feel worthy in your life. And you'll never have an identity because your entire identity is about pleasing her. So you don't know who you are. You don't know what your likes are, dislikes are, what your aspirations are, what you want to do with your life. You don't have any, you're not in touch with any of those. And anytime you try to assert a different identity because you have been in that golden child or scapegoat, forgotten child mode for a long time, um, you get scared for trying to do something different from what she wants. So there's a lot of difficulty in that. Then there is also susceptibility to attract toxic narcissistic spouses or emotionally unavailable partners. And this is for men and women both. I have seen this as a non-stop constant pattern where when there was a narcissistic mother uh, whom you didn't have a good relationship with, all the women who have come to us, most of them with narcissistic partners, in fact all of them with narcissistic partners, husbands, have had a narcissistic mother, right? And I've seen this with men also. And with men, because the whole dynamic of narcissism works differently in men and women. Like, women tend to be more covert, men tend to be more overt. But even in men, I have seen that they're either attracting emotionally unavailable partners or narcissistic partners. And it all comes from them not having like a stable mother, but having a mother who has narcissism. So watch out for that. Next is there is hypervigilance and anxiety, right? So these children who grow up, whether golden childs, if they continuously receive that being a golden child, they end up becoming narcissists themselves because that's what they're getting. But if the mother's constantly switching who's the golden child, who's the scapegoat, etc., but especially the scapegoat becomes hyper vigilant. In fact, all the children of narcissistic mothers are hyper vigilant and anxiety prone, right? Now, why are they hyper vigilant? Because they don't want to get into trouble as children. They want their mother to be happy. They want their mother to be happy with them. Because when their mother will be happy with them, that's when they'll get some love and affection from her, right? But so then they're constantly vigilant about that one twitch of an eyebrow, that one, smirk on her face, that one expression changing, that whole body language changing, etc., because they don't want to get into trouble. So they become hyper vigilant and very sensitive to other people's emotions, changes, and what's happening inside of them. And they live a life of hyper anxiety also because they're constantly anxious about what's going to happen next and how they should be falling into trouble. And they also have this pressure that they feel responsible for everyone's emotions around them, and they feel that they are responsible to hold everything together because they were blamed, they were scapegoated, they were the victims, they were the ones who were blamed for everything when they were growing up. So then they've internalized that so much that even in their adult life, they take extra responsibility of situations, they overperform, and they take extra responsibility of everyone's emotions. But it takes a lot of learning. Like, we had one client who had to unlearn this with us through the Heal Strong program, where she had to unlearn that no, she's not responsible for the people's emotions around her. Everyone's an adult and they can take care of themselves. She's not the one who's supposed to bring balance all the time in a family situation or a work situation. And if you trace it back, there was a narcissistic mother that she was raised by. Yes. Now, just looking at the next slide here. Yeah, if you're trying to work on your anxiety and you want to feel calmer and you want to feel better, I also have this beautiful Calm Companion bracelet. I'm wearing it too. Trying to pull it here. It's right, this one that I wear. It just keeps your mind calm and it helps you become gradually free from this hypervigilance and anxiety. And you can get it. The link for this is in the description below. Now, the fifth point, as I talked about, we're talking about seven life altering things that happen to people who are being raised by a narcissistic mother. The fifth point is difficulty setting boundaries because there is no identity formation that has happened, not allowed to have an identity. Your boundaries were continuously violated. Your needs and feelings were violated, your aspirations, your plans, everything was violated all the time. Um, you have no sense of boundaries. Um, and it works both ways. One thing is you don't have any boundaries, so you're constantly violated, even as you get into adulthood, and you have difficulty setting boundaries because if you feel that you're setting a boundary, that means you will make mommy upset, which means you won't get her love. That's the psychology that you had as a child, and now you carry on as an adult because you feel that, oh, if I set a boundary, I'm going to make people upset, and then they'll go away, and then nobody will love me. Yes. Now you also violate boundaries because you don't know what boundaries are. You end up violating a lot of boundaries, and you end up pushing a lot of people away because people don't want to be with someone who doesn't have boundaries or who's violating their boundaries. They want to be with people with a spine and who have a clear way of how it's working. And I see that with a lot of our Heal Strong program people, is that because they've been they come as they're trying to recover from toxic narcissistic abuse, and we have a certain format and a certain way in which the program works, the program design, but they're constantly pushing boundaries about, no, give me this and give me that and give me this. They don't understand that, hey, this is the program and this is how it works, and then we have to point it out to them that you have difficulty with boundaries. And then when we set those boundaries with them, they become very upset, they feel very lonely, they feel very angry with us, but the point is that we're helping you in a way. And they're not able to take it is because they just don't understand boundaries. So that's another thing that happens. Just keep spotting which ones are very active in you, and is going to, I hope this is giving a lot of insights to you. And if it is, then let me know in the comments so far about how this message, this whole video has landed for you, and what key lessons are you getting out of this so far. Now, another thing is that there is a lot of guilt because you've been blamed, you've been held accountable for everything, you've been scapegoated. There's a lot of guilt about everything. There's a lot of overperforming and making other people happy. And then when they're not happy, there's a lot of guilt in your life. There's a lot of guilt about, oh, my mom was never, I wasn't loved. Oh, there's a lot of guilt about like past childhood memories, which were no fault of yours, but because they were blamed on you. Like one of the clients I had has a core memory inside of her, which is, yeah, I can never be on time and I'm always late. And I'm like, why do you say that? You show up on appointments, always on time. You're always there on time for the appointments, for the calls, you're turning in, you're doing your coursework really well on time, etc. So why do you think you're not on time? We're like, no, no. I said, don't you not show up in meetings on time at work? And she's like, no, I always show up. So I said, where is this thing coming from? And it turned out that as a 6-year old who was trying to go to 5-year old trying to go to kindergarten, and she was always late. And then the teacher would um, tell her, like, you're always late. And then when she would come back home, and then, like, with a note from the teacher that this child is always late, the mother always blamed the child for being late. And the breakfast, and like the child was told that, oh, you don't eat fast, you eat so slow, and therefore we get late every single day. And it's only when we started teasing all of this in the appointment, I was like, you were a 5-year-old. You can't be held accountable for eating breakfast slow or not showing up on time. That's where the parents are for. The breakfast needed to be adjusted so that you could show up on time. You needed to be woken up at an earlier time so that you could show up on time. You needed to be taken to school at the right time so that you could be shown up on time. And it wasn't your fault. But look at how that whole blaming and shaming carries on in the psyche, even at this, at the age of 47 for this client. So she felt, and she felt she wasn't good enough. Overall, she felt she wasn't good enough, and she sabotaged, her career. She sabotaged her personal life. She sabotaged so many different things until she came to the Heal Strong program and, worked with us through the courses, coaching, and community. And we were able to help her. Now, let's look at the last one, which is perfectionism and imposter syndrome. Kind of similar to some of the things we've discussed so far, but I thought I'd still like to call it out separately. Like, example, because you think you have to be perfect in order to get mother's love, and anyway you still don't get mother's love and appreciation, but you become this person who's like really good, perfect in what you do, and you still don't feel good enough, and that's the whole imposter syndrome coming in. Now, how does this reflect in your life is that you have difficulty asking for raises because you, as an imposter, you feel you don't deserve it. You find it very difficult to complete things because you think they're not perfect, they're not up to the mark, and that could be someone who has to release a product in the market. and they would be so difficult for them to do that because they're after that whole perfectionism. And then also there can be a lot of hard-heartedness towards others because you're trying to be perfect and you're trying to do everything so well, but you see other free birds who just don't care, and then you could be resentful and you could be hard-hearted to them. So these are some of the things to watch out for. And if you're looking for more traits to know about narcissists in general, and if you have a narcissistic mother, if you suspect she was, then download my free guide, which the description in the link in the description below, to where I've talked about 15 traits of narcissists, and it's like journal prompts. So you can also write down whether I've written down what each of those traits means, and then there's a place for you to reflect on whether you have experience of the same thing in your life, right? So I want you to stop the self blame that you all go through, and I want you to get a head start in reclaiming yourself. Now, let's look at the next thing, which is uh, what happens when you grow up with a narcissistic mother. You do get some gifts, right? Uh, they may not be happy gifts, but they do impact your personality in positive ways. All of these things that I've talked about. There's also some positive outcomes over there, is that you just have unmatched resilience. You have such a high degree of resilience to things that you can survive some really tough projects, you can survive some really tough situations, and you can still hold it together for yourself and go ahead. So that's one thing you get. Another thing is a lot of emotional intuitiveness. As I said, because you're hyper vigilant about everyone's emotions and what's happening to them, and how their psychology is working, etc. So when you are in team meetings, when you are with other people, etc., you know exactly how everyone's mind is working. You're very emotionally intuitive. You're able to care for people really well, and that becomes a positive trait in your life. And you have a great ability to understand people and their motivations and what's going on. Just flowing from the first thing, which is about that whole hypervigilance thing we talked about. So getting emotional intuitiveness and then understanding what they want and then responding accordingly. So people feel very comfortable around you. They feel like they get you. And it also helps you as you're trying to grow as a leader in your life. So these are some of the gifts that you get. And I'm just trying to see what else do we have here. Yes. So if you are looking, so today I talked about narcissistic mothers, and how the 7 ways in which, it changes your life and your psyche completely. And if you're looking to be part of the series, because I'm going to talk about narcissism in different relationships week after week, I'm going to put out different videos on narcissistic fathers, narcissistic wives, bosses, children, spiritual gurus, and so on. Then please subscribe to my channel and turn on your notifications so that you get the updates of when those videos are on. And I also post a lot of other videos on my channel on other topics like leadership and emotional wellness and things like that. And these are not just about narcissistic abuse recovery. This is about holistic life and leadership. So you would benefit even from that. And the next thing is that I'd also invite you to consider joining the Heal Strong program, which is the sponsor of today's podcast. And it will help you make a full recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. You have the link for that in the description below. This is a full membership where, as being a part of the member, you get my 5 step Heal Strong method to make a full recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse and reclaim your life, reclaim your soul, break free from all the blame, and live a full life. And along with the 5 step courses roadmap, you also get access to coaching, group coaching, and one on one coaching, depending on the tier you join, and also get access to a beautiful community of other people, other Heal Strong heroes who are working on their healing. So if you are looking to join, we have the links in the description below. We also have the links to the bracelet, the Calm Companion bracelet, and the free downloadable guide to recognize the 15 traits, toxic traits in narcissistic relationships, and to see and check if you are in one. So thank you so much for being there. And this is